didn't do it real long, right? But like down in Louisiana, I guess that would have been like 2007 or 2008. I got hooked up with like Gary Frank and started training with them. Yeah, with him Simmons, and Greg Theriot and
Christian Simmons. Was he around? Had he already left Gary by then?
Maybe you've already left. It was like Greg Theriot. There was a fucking big guy. I can't remember his name. Guys that were all APF nationals every year. I went to the one in Chicago, and I remember competing against Christian. Was up there for that one, and that's that meet where Gary got puked on as the fucking head judge by what's that fucking guy's name? God damn it!
I don't remember, but
yeah, I remember seeing that fucking poor kid in the back.
Yeah,
and he's like, I threw up on a legend. And like he's so embarrassed, right? And like I get that mindset. I fucking remember being a kid and Gary staring at you from the fucking squat judge seat. Meanwhile, I run into Gary and Gary's like, kid doesn't know what favor he just did me. I don't have to wear these goddamn khaki pants anymore.
Yep. I remember that he puked all over him. And the year before, I think that was, you say around 2007 or 8 or something like that?
Yeah, it would have had to have been.
9, I don't know. 2007, Gary really hurt his back at Senior Nationals in Daytona. I was there, so this was really weird the way they did it. Like, powerlifting was always, I don't know if it's the same thing with Highland Games and Strongman and, like, that whole thing, but there's a lot of shit shows in powerlifting, like, really bad shit shows.
So, Highland Games, man, once I switched to that, like, I never fucking went back. There's so much less bullshit.
There's more money, more people care, more organization, like, all that stuff, or?
The sport was just better. One, I'm outside.
Yeah.
B, I can train by myself all the fucking time.
Right.
And so, like, I also have a throwing background from college, so it's like going into the sport with cheating.
I apologize, but did you throw discus or shot put or like
shot,
javelin
disc, and hammer? Yeah, I did shot, disc, and hammer at LSU. Was super average in all three.
Right.
And but it all applies to that sport fucking like this.
Right.
And so after a few years of powerlifting, a few years of strongman, and getting really strong again, and then going back to all the throwing technique, I took to the sport really well. And so there's no federations. It's invite only for every event as a professional. And so if you can get invites, you go compete.
Right.
And then it's prize money every weekend. And they were paying us for travel and putting us up in hotels. And then there was like, I wouldn't go to any games after, for the whole time I was a pro. I would do like 20 games a year, and I didn't go to anything that I didn't think I could come home with $1,000. So usually like whatever top 3 looked like, I knew I could fall there. And so, yeah, man, that sport was fucking rad.
Powerlifting, 2007 Senior Nationals. So Gary goes down squatting.
He's still down, WPO.
This is APF at this time. The WPO is on its tail end. I just competed at the 2007 WPO. This is 2007 APF Seniors a couple of months after, because the WPO was March Arnold weekend. This was June Daytona. And these people are trying to re-qualify for the next WPO or qualify. So Gary was there lifting, just getting a lift in. And so something happened where he blew his back out. And so he dumped the bar off of his back. And a guy named Bart, you remember Bart? He used to spot all the time. He's a big redheaded guy. He was spotting Gary when he went down. We could probably pull up the video and you can see Gary dropped the weight into his arms. So he went down too. So you have two, like Gary 400 pounds, this guy's like 350. And they just put them both on the front of the platform face down, and the show went on.
Yeah, they kept lifting.
You knew about that?
Yeah, I've seen that fucking video. These two bodies are just fucking laying there. They just rolled them the fuck out of the way. God damn it, man. It's interesting sport. I love the silliness of it. I hate when it tries to take itself fucking too serious.
That's what I think I think that's where a lot of the rub is right now with powerlifting. It's so fractured and it's so goofy. People are thinking that they're like setting the world on fire. They do 2 meets and they hit a pretty decent total, and they think there's some kind of authority on powerlifting. And then most of these people, you watch them kind of decline and fade away after a year or two. But now people are delusional, thinking that it's going to be some kind of like extravagant Olympic sport.
No.
You know what I mean?
It's never going to be.
I don't think it should be, because it's like saying the UFC or MMA should be an Olympic sport. It's like, no, dude, it's too nasty, it's too ugly. And I know I just compared powerlifting to the UFC and MMA, but it's It's pretty rough.
So you find it like too raw to be at an Olympic level?
I think it's too raw. You need the drugs in it. You need the personalities. You don't need like
I agree with that. Drug tested powerlifting, man. There are some fucking animals out there.
I don't see how they're drug free.
No doubt about it.
I don't see how they're drug free.
Look, man. At this point, say someone like Russ Swole.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless I'm not up on current information, I believe he's been drug tested the whole time he's competed in. Like,
yeah. No.
I mean, at this point, he's passed test,
right?
And he's that fucking good, and he's done it this long. You know what, dude? Until proven otherwise, I will fucking believe you.
Yeah.
I got nothing to lose saying otherwise. And so, fucking good on you, freak.
Yeah.
What
crazy.
a high-powered mutant.
I think, the IPF is the purest form of powerlifting. I just don't like it so sanitized.
Right on.
I don't like it so sanitized. I don't like it so orchestrated. Yes, there's a lot of professionalism, but I don't know. It's too sanitized.
That's what turned me off about competing in weightlifting.
Mm-hmm. That's
was
very
the same
sanitized.
deal. Yeah, I found the competition environment really boring. I really liked training for powerlifting, and I really liked training for strongman and weightlifting.
Mm-hmm.
The competition environment wasn't for me.
But what's funny is they have the money behind it. Like I went to the Arnold and watched the Olympic lifting a couple years ago. They had a whole stadium and they had like 10 platforms, and they had
fucking
everything.
Pay an athlete, man.
They have everything. They have everything that powerlifting doesn't have. They have the fans, they have the money, they have the interest, but they have no. The vibe is off. It's weird, and then they just don't have the intangible that powerlifting has. To me, and at least in that, like. People think that powerlifting is going to be fixed just by throwing money at it and cleaning it up a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if it would definitely help bring the best to compete against each other by having good equipment, good promoter, lots of money,
I think part of making it look fun would be rad.
For sure. And you know what? I had this idea and someone's probably going to steal it now. But powerlifting for the average person, even the person that enjoys, sorry if I'm yelling into the microphone.
No, all good.
That was pretty loud, man.
Yeah.
So, and I, every day.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So, anyway, what was I saying now?
Powerlifting,
and I have no idea where I was going with that.
It's
what
all
was I
good.
saying? What was I saying that was important?
You were talking about getting new eyes to powerlifting and trying to fix it you can't just throw money at it.
You can't just throw money at it. And, I think that powerlifting needs to be this rough around the edges sport, and when you try to make it like too perfect, it's just not going to be interesting. But here's my idea. It came back to me. So even for the person that loves lifting weights, like I was a bro before I lifted. Like I was benching 315 when I was like 16, benched 405 clean, like a true drug free at 19 at like 190. So I was a bro. I'd go to the gym. I remember the first time that I squatted. First couple of times I squatted, I had someone kind of give me some general overview of what to squat. Try to treat it like a leg press. Keep your spine in neutral. Keep your torso upright. And like one of the first times I squatted, I was 16, probably 170. I squatted 225 for 20 reps.
Oh shit!
It was the first time, right? But even I wouldn't want to sit in a powerlifting meet for a short one is 5 hours. Like that's like IPF flying through everything, 5 hours. Starting rules meeting to award ceremony.
Yeah, the truth is, I don't want to go watch Highland Games.
Right, it's too long.
I'm not a fan of sports.
So what about these people that
I'm a fan of doing shit.
Yeah. It's like I grew up playing baseball, and it's fun watching the pros play if it's not a pitching duel.
Sure, right? And I mean, people seem to be fucking into it for whatever reason. So are you still competing, or
No.
How long have you been out?
3
years.
Yeah.
How's transition been?
It's been rough. Not rough like, I'm on the edge, right? About to fall off and not sure what I'm going to do with myself. But it's been rough to keep myself motivated to train because I don't need to be 280.
Nope.
And I know it's not good on my heart. It's not good on my other organs. And it's not good on my joints. But at the same time, I've been genetically blessed to be able to hold size with what some people would consider little effort. And it's definitely a little effort now. But I need to get off my ass and work harder, eat less, and lose some body weight. But whenever I was competing in powerlifting, and I did it a lot for 21 years straight, a lot of competitions in powerlifting from 99 to 2020. I quit in October of 2020. I always had the next goal. Like in 2008, I competed in 8 full meets. 8 full meets. That's a meet every month.
That's a lot, dude.
Every 1.1 months or something.
And this is
stupid.
geared stuff too, right?
Quit.
Like, yeah, fuck me.
Well, I had multiple all-time top 2 totals right behind Greg Panora as the number 242 in the world, but I really beat myself up, man. I competed so much. So I learned, later in my career, I hurt my back, and we can talk about that in a little bit, but I always had something I was training for. So even if I was a little depressed or down about something in my career or my like social life or something, I could pour myself into powerlifting, and there's always the next goal. Get leaner, get stronger, get bigger, rehab, or whatever it is. Now I'm healthy. My back doesn't bother me. I don't have any ailments, thankfully. I'll go for a walk, in the morning like today, but it's not like I have to do 30 minutes of rehab to be like, oh, well, now I can like live today.
Again, right.
No, I'm blessed with that. But at the same time, I don't have a drive to train in me because I let that drive that makes me crazy about training, I let that kind of die 3 years ago. So now I need to, not overcompensated, but I overshot my intensity and mentality. So I was 100% all in. Didn't give a shit what happened to me. When I was walking up under 1,300 pounds, I said, you know what, God, just get me through this last one, and I'll be done with it after this. But up into that point, including that lift, I'm like, whatever happens, happens. If I blow my knees apart, my back apart again, whatever, I'm good. But after this one, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
But that same mentality that I don't have anymore would push me to train every day I needed to, no matter what. Now I don't have that. And now it's hard for me to get motivated to train when I'm benching 225 and I'm squatting 315 and I'm deadlifting 405. And I'm still training, so I don't turn into a fat ass. But at the same time, it's very unmotivating, and I struggle with training by myself because I've been training with people for 20 years.
Sure. I like training alone and have the whole time I competed. I think that was kind of one of the unique things with the Highland Games, right? Like there's only like 20 of us in the world that were any good in the pro level. And so out of those 20, like all of us trained by ourselves in garages and then throw in a field by ourselves. Mm-hmm. And there's no coaching for that thing or any of that. And so it was unique that way. Mm-hmm. So we all knew anytime we saw each other, like these are the other fucking weirdos that actually get how strange it is what we do.
Right.
Man, I struggled with it a long time because the way I like fucking training is really violent and heavy because I like the focus it fucking demands to be fully present at that thing. Mm-hmm. Same thing I like about competing is that fucking moment that demands my goddamn greatness.
Did you get scared? Did you get scared right before you compete? Like not like I'm gonna leave, guys, but like
anxious,
like on the verge sometimes of like I kind of wish I wasn't here. Like I'm not. You wouldn't let yourself go into that.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it would
yeah.
be
of course.
there.
But that level of discomfort.
Like, hey, if I wouldn't be too upset if they canceled this bitch.
Yeah, I've been there.
I mean? Okay.
Right. I've been there. Right.
It happened to me every single time.
Dude, that voice that wants out. I've never figured out for it not to show up.
It's partial self-preservation.
And cool, but the way I get to decide how I address it as whatever it is. And so now when I hear that voice, it's very much just like, yeah, man, I got you. Like that's as much energy as I give back to it, that I know it doesn't fucking matter. I'm going this way. We don't have to talk about it.
You should be a little scared, especially if you're doing what you did.
Well, but that anxiety, right? Like that anxiety to me, instead of that being some type of fucking danger flag, instead what I read it as is I give a real fuck about the outcome of this. Mm-hmm. So I need to be at my fucking best.
Yep.
This is a red flag that's in my head popping up that this is the direction we're going and it demands our fucking best right now. And that's why I love it.
And if you didn't have that anxiety or if it started to go away, then it's time to do something else.
Well, I mean, in the same way, mindset-wise, I look at everything the way we make progress lifting. The only way it happens is through that adaptation, right? That we're creating stress so that we adapt to come back stronger for the next thing. Why would any other part of us not act that way? Why wouldn't my stress management act that way? Why wouldn't my ability to compete and perform act that way? Why wouldn't my ability to publicly speak act that way? Like I have to fucking push to discomfort to create the adaptation that I want.
Do you like public speaking?
I do now, yeah.
You didn't at first?
No one does. But what I like about it now, right? Like, that feeling of getting under the weight, it's the same.
It is. That's what I found.
It's the same fucking thing, dude. And so like when you're talking about like not finding that purpose for training, mm-hmm. I spent a really long time with purpose focused on this pinpoint success of throwing my fucking best, burn everything else down in the fucking pursuit of it.
Yeah, I did a good job at that myself.
Awesome, right?
Yeah.
So let's now say that chapter's done. Fuck yeah. And then the health part, the motivation for that, right? Like that's fucking honoring this machine that gave you all those lessons.
I need to be healthy and not be so lazy.
Right. But that's this is the motivation to do it, right?
Yeah,
You're fucking honoring that thing that got you through all those fucking squats.
Yep.
And you're not big because you're lazy. You're not fucking holding on to any of this past identity.
Yeah.
And if you're going to continue to be a fucking world champion for the rest of your life, choose to be that in every fucking place in your life. You know, show the consistency to people. Let people see that this wasn't like, oh, Brian's really strong, but he can't fucking get anything else going.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
If you've got the ability to go from 0 to world champion, you got the recipe, man.
True.
You have to fucking die for it.
Yeah.
Whatever else you want to learn's got the same fucking discipline.
Yeah. I took that same approach with, you mentioned speaking, so I did the same thing. And then writing books. Same approach. Like writing The Gift of Injury with Dr. McGill, that book was really hard to write because I had to bring my best. You know, I'm working with someone that's the best in their field. They're a very accomplished author themselves, right? You know, Back Mechanic sold millions of copies, right?
So you're writing shit with a doctor.
He's really good. And
I don't know how you feel about yourself, but I remember that I'm a fucking idiot who threw rocks in a field.
I compress my spine and turn purple and stand up, basically is what amounted for me. But that was hard. It was hard for me to bring my best. So it was harder for me to do that than it was actually rehabbing my back. Writing the book.
Think about how many fucking repetitions you have at rehabbing your back. Like, you're familiar in that world, dude.
Yep.
Like, anything involving the physical with strength and rehab or anything, that's still in comfort zone. Like, that's what you learned from the 22 fucking years of training, right?
Yep.
Is you learned how valuable fucking deloading is, despite not feeling crushed and ready to fucking get out of a cycle. That like, hey man, I know we feel good. We're going to deload anyway so that we stay feeling good.
I love that idea.
Right? There's no fucking difference in that and how I manage my business. If I'm going to be on the gas and pushing myself to manage more and more stress and solve bigger problems, then I also have to work in the deload so I don't just fucking go to burnout and failure.
Yep. Like,
it's all got to be intentional the same way I train. I build everything in my life, whatever direction I want to go, the same way I looked at becoming good at anything. And it all takes the same way of like, you know, if you're taking critique on your squat and someone has an opinion about it.
Oh, there's been a lot.
Sure.
Dude,
but like,
I'm literally the worst squatter of all time.
Sure, but like anything like that, right? Like, I don't have like an emotional feeling to the critique because it's a physical thing that I'm like, I just want to get better at.
Right.
But in my own like personal life, I'll get more defensive because I think it's more about me than it is. Mm-hmm. And there's no fucking need for it. It's like, what a waste of fucking energy. I treat everything the same way.
Yeah.
The same thing that built World Champion version 1, I'm into it.
Yeah.
And for me, other purpose, man, our life's a fucking story. I'm the hero of mine. And in the hero's journey, you overcome obstacles and you slay a fucking dragon.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one dragon. It's a lot. And so overslaying that fucking dragon and becoming the best in the world at a thing that no one gives a shit about is one.
True.
The next dragon was I got fucking hurt. I no longer get to be that guy again. Yo, I can't ever throw. Like, I can't do it for fun. The same way that you're talking about, like, squatting 225. Like, what a fucking boring thing it feels like.
Right.
Yeah, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
I can't show it to someone. This knows how to fucking do all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well.
You just can't take the torque and the torsion anymore?
No, I have a fucking fake knee and a shitty hip.
Yeah.
You know, and so the injuries, the way, you know, surgery went after it went bad. Yeah, man, getting into chronic pain changed perspective on everything because I can't handle the rest of my life being that fucking limited.
Which injury of yours was the worst?
So I ended up competing like the whole time in the Highland Games without an ACL.
Right.
And then knee just kind of wore out to a point that I couldn't really extend it anymore, so I can't really drive my right hip forward.
Right.
And to throw, everything has to be led by the right hip. So if I can't extend my hip, like, you're not really doing it.
What's your glute doing?
Now, very little. What it was doing then is driving super fucking hard to extend the hip and push through. But since my knee couldn't extend, I can't fire the quad, can't fire the glute, or extend the hip around to lead the throw, right? I end up going to the shoulder, which is bullshit. And so I ended up having an ACL surgery at the end of my 2016 season just to fix it. Like, oh, man, we'll rehab a year and get back to competing. And I ended up having 8 other knee surgeries in 3 years and a total knee replacement.
So after it was the 8th time, they're like, we got to replace this.
Yeah. And so, like, man, what I got pushed into really quickly was fuck throwing again. I have to walk. Because if I'm stuck with only being able to walk around 200 yards a day, I'm going to fucking eat a bullet one day.
Were they telling you some crazy shit? Like, I'm sure some people probably said you never walk or you won't be able to, you'll have a crutches forever or what?
Not really with the knee replacement. Like, they're pretty fucking good at it. But also, I've never really been that concerned with what their limiting idea is anyway. And I honestly think that there's some psychology behind the doctor thing. One, we live too litigiously for them to say you can, like, to set high expectations for someone.
True.
It becomes too much of a problem. It's easier to tell someone that
Don't
you'll
ever lift
never
again.
do this
Don't
again.
ever lift again.
And of course, the psychology makes people fucking do it. And then anything they've done past 0, they feel like is a fucking win. It's a great psychological setup for success. And then you can stay mad at a doctor who'll never be part of your life. Whatever, right? Like that guy actually gave you the benefit to fucking unlock your ability to take a fucking action.
So with your 8 surgeries, were any of them botched? Or the wrong surgery at the wrong time?
I had surgeries that didn't heal well. And so, like, botched feels like I'm placing blame somewhere. But
yeah, I'm getting at the surgeon fuck up. You
no,
had good
not
surgeons.
that I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Not in any way that I feel any feeling about. I mean, I went to the same guy 9 times. I made that decision.
Probably 4.
I got second opinions, and everyone thought everything was fine. What happened is my body just doesn't use cadaver tissue. It just eats it.
Interesting.
And so it doesn't heal. Yeah, and so, like, I had an Oates procedure done on my knee because we didn't have any cartilage left. And so, like, one of those, like, 30 mil plugs that they put into the bottom of my femur never quite healed. And so every time I'd step, like, it's flexing. And so I would get this really gnarly, like, 8 or 9 out of 10 shooting pain in my femur, like, when I exhale.
Say it again with the flexing.
So, like, they cut, like, a 30-millimeter hole into the bottom of the femur.
That's pretty big.
It's fucking huge, like a quarter.
Why'd they say millimeter instead of inch, though?
I don't know, it makes more sense.
That's true.
Inches are terrible.
Yeah, but we still use it here. Did you go abroad?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been a bunch.
For surgery?
No.
No, that's what I mean. Like,
No,
that's why they're saying. I know they said millimeter too for my
because everything fancy's not made here.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Anything really high end has to be made somewhere else to specifics that the whole world can fucking use.
Yeah, Germany.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so they cut this 30 mil hole and then they pop in a cadaver, basically bottom of the knee.
Right.
So where there's still cartilage and all this other shit. And so one of the 3 ones of those they put in didn't heal very well, like on the medial side of my knee.
Right.
And so once it got inflamed, which could be from like standing for 15 minutes, I would get like an 8 or 9 shooting pain out of 10 in that spot, like when I exhale.
Yeah, that knee shooting pain, it can sometimes be the knee, like in your case, but sometimes it's a disc bulge encroaching on a femoral nerve coming across the end of the knee, and that can ruin people's days. And unfortunately, and I didn't mean to laugh. I laugh because it's ridiculous. It's not funny.
No.
What I'm about to say. But sometimes, dude, they replace people's knees. They do all these crazy surgeries on them, and it's been a disc bulge in their back the whole time. They replace hips when it's coming from the back, and the hips are fine. No one did any tests on the fucking hips.
Right.
They didn't do any tests.
Yeah.
They're like, nope, yeah, you need a hip replacement. They didn't do any tests on the back in conjunction with the hip, and it's just like...
Yeah, I know my low back now is pretty jacked up because I've limped for so long, and then my right glute doesn't activate.
That's why I asked you about your glute.
Yep. It just doesn't activate on that side very well. Just there's enough damage in the hip socket that I just don't have room anymore for it to move.
Do they want to do a hip replacement?
That's what I'll start finding out in October.
It
looked like it on the first MRI I did back when I had my knee done.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, "Oh, your hip's in trouble."
It's all jammed up in there?
Yeah.
Dude, what kind of pain do you have from that?
On a daily basis, probably like 1.
Squat make it feel better or worse?
Terrible.
Makes it feel just no matter what squatting, it just you grind it all
so
up.
like if I was balancing on one foot and like I can shift, like I can feel it like clock, 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 clock. And it's not painful.
Yeah, I know what clunks are.
Yeah.
When I do my hip assessment for my back clients, I just feel around in the hip and man, sometimes people are like, my hips are so like your hips are great. Your hips are great, dude. It's coming from your back.
We'll for sure check it out.
Yeah.
I'm always down to learn, man. I don't pretend to have any fucking answers.
But when I get clunks in the hip, man, that can be the hip. Yeah, that can be sometimes easier to fix it coming from the back than the hip.
And look, man, I'm open to anything, right? Like if I'm willing to fucking go to the jungle to drink fucking vine water to deal with my feelings, I'm more than willing.
How do you like that?
It's great.
Which one did you do?
Ayahuasca.
What's the deal with the ibogaine?
So ibogaine, I don't have any personal experience with.
They go to Mexico for that, right?
Yeah, you can go to a variety of places.
Yeah.
But the idea, ibogaine. So ayahuasca has this kind of like motherly feeling to it, and as it's kind of described, would be like Mother Gaia. This is like the earth energy, that type of thing.
I've got like maybe like this much. I've done heavy amounts of mushrooms.
Okay, cool.
But I know it's a different level. But
yeah,
I have a little.
But at least
I have understanding of what you're
perfect.
talking
We've got
about.
some vocabulary shared.
Right.
Ibogaine seems to be the father component of Mother Gaia.
Interesting.
So it's a bit harsher, a bit more straight and direct.
You need to go see Daddy?
Seems to be one of these things, man, that they're showing fucking drastic change.
Are you?
PTSD.
You gonna go see Daddy?
I would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine I'll give it a go. I'm just curious at this point about everything.
You know, speaking of Mexico, they got this new. There's a stem cell clinic that's getting popular there. That's where people are going instead of
Colombia.
wherever. Yeah.
Yeah, I know everybody's been going to like Bio Accelerator.
Yep.
Those guys down there.
Yeah.
And the couple guys I know that have been, I mean, have results, but it doesn't seem enough yet for me to want to do.
Do you have affiliation with any of these?
No.
And so you have no like dogs in the fight or
No.
anything? Okay, cool. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I don't want to like shit on this
No,
place and like, dude.
We can talk about whatever.
So I was working with a guy and it was his back. He had just annihilated 3 of his discs in his back, annular tears, which are typically from twisting. And it's when you actually have a tear in the outer ring of your disc, which is called the annulus. So the nucleus comes out and it encroaches on nerve roots. Depending on what you're doing, the disc bulge will get better and start to heal and callus and gristle. But if you keep bending and twisting it over and over, like a thrower that annular tears are common with throwers because of the torsion and twisting.
Okay.
So what we do for them is we get away from twisting, we stiffen them up a little bit, we move them away from what causes them pain, and then we slowly start introducing them to anti-rotation, then eventually rotation again. So the thing about the what was I talking about disc bulges for?
Because my back and hip. That sometimes it's a better option to look at the back than the hip surgery type thing.
Yeah, but what was I saying about the annular? What was I going with? Bio Accelerator.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
led me wrong.
Sorry.
We were talking about Bio Accelerator, and you're trying
Weed
to
could be a contributing factor.
I started it, and you contributed. All right, so anyway, he was already feeling better, right? He was already doing good.
Yeah.
And I just got him to stop doing the shit that was hurting him. And I know that's hard for me and for you if someone's like, and they're trustworthy. You got to have rapport with them. I get all that. But if they're just like, Matt, take a little time off from throwing. I'm going to give you these exercises. Don't train hard. But if you know it's going to work, or you have a very high chance of it working, and or you've already failed with so many other different elements and approaches, why wouldn't you do that if you're a professional? So that's what he did. He stopped doing it. Dude, literally within like 4 days, his pain came down. And then 4 weeks, he was much better. Then after a couple months, he didn't have pain for weeks at a time. So he's not healed because it still takes a couple years actually for those annular tears to gristle and stiffen. The body will reabsorb the disc sometimes. Sometimes it will actually digest it. Sometimes it'll go back in the disc. But he decided he wanted to go. Mm-hmm. And I said, dude, you're already feeling good, right? Like, I don't know if I'd drop the price of a small car is what he said.
Yeah,
so I'm guessing 25 to 30.
15 to 20 grand.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm like, well, do what you want to do. And he went, he had a good experience, but there's not really too much to go off of because he already wasn't having pain. He wasn't having pain.
Right. And I think there could also be a really high placebo factor to like how nice the trip feels, and you're doing this big thing for yourself and all that. I think that contributes a lot to it.
So I got a theory because I watched this, you talked about Tony Robbins.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Robbins was talking about how he was going to have to retire from like doing his shtick. Not a shtick. I don't mean to like,
no, sure.
Doing his thing. It is a thing, right? He gets people up. So
I don't find that offensive.
Yeah. So he does this thing and, he's very demonstrative with it, right? So it was ruining his back, actually. His back was just toast. So he went to bio or one of these places and then said he was feeling better within a couple weeks. Well, stem cells take about 3 months to actually start to take effect and do what they're meant to do. Before then, they're not doing anything for you as far as healing. It takes about 3 months to feel the effect. Well, he talked about how 7 days, he was like, I felt like I was a new person. There's something what we call in back mechanic, which is not my book, but we call it in the McGill method as a McGill provider, virtual surgery. Virtual surgery with someone with back pain is a game changer because a lot of people get better, not because of the surgery they had. They get better because they fucking take a couple of days off or a week off.
Yeah.
So Tony Robbins goes 100 miles an hour every time. What is he doing after he gets his... I'm not saying the stem cells aren't helping him now 3 months down the road, but what is he doing? He's being pampered. He's given Vicodin. He's given IVs. He's getting good food. Great. He's probably getting hookers. No, I'm just kidding about the hookers part, but they're treating him well, right?
Yeah. It's a full first
So he's
class
rested for a month.
Yeah.
No shit, you're going to feel better. So that's where I think a lot of people are like, dude, I feel so much better. Well, yeah, you're not running every day because they're not letting you.
No, that's true, man. And, for me at this point, now that I've lost weight and changed and done all that and down around 215, it was cool deciding to like chase some other stuff. Like the first thing I kind of got into is this endurance because few things and why I would recommend it for you.
Okay. I'm open
Number
to
one,
it.
I've never run.
You convinced me earlier to be excellent in everything. Don't be excellent. Don't be half-assed.
You already closed that chapter, right?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
What else can we do?
And I'm good with it.
Yeah, but I don't want like the third chapter of my book to be the coolest thing that happened.
Yeah. So can you see in me that I don't have a desire to compete anymore?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
I dropped it. Like I was literally able just to say, I'm done.
Yeah, so now
like,
the competition that only matters now is like self-curiosity. Mm-hmm. What are you fucking capable of?
Yeah.
And so I decided after my knee got sorted and like the first thing that when I felt healthy enough that like I need something.
Right.
I chose to do an 18-mile trail run in Bryce Canyon as like a ultra marathon trail thing. And the reason I chose it, I was like, I've never fucking run. I've never been a runner. I'm a thrower. How much better can I get at running in 12 weeks?
A lot.
If all I did was the run I found is in a beautiful place I want to go experience anyway.
Road or trail?
Trail.
Okay.
All outdoor, doing the whole thing. I'll get a fucking camping trip and a road trip out of it, which is also my favorite.
Okay.
The training for it, I looked at it like, all right, we are 12 weeks out. I'm going to do 18 miles. There's a 7-hour time cap, which means I need to average 2.67 miles an hour. I can walk at 3.
Yeah.
So like, goal is finish. That's all I care about is like finish it, right? So like all I need to know that I can be confident to do is if I can do 4 hours of nonstop movement on game day, I can fucking do this thing.
Right.
And so I just trained for that. Like week 1 was move an hour a day on the treadmill at any speed. And then week 2 was like an hour with at least 3 10-minute run sections. I did such tiny linear progression because I'm so dog shit.
Smart.
Right? That like, it's going to work.
That's the wisdom you didn't have in your 20s.
Of course. And so like, it was like, well, let me apply this to a thing that I'm really bad at, that the level of improvement will happen really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we learn from doing this? What I learned is like, holy shit, I can fucking run. One of the reasons I've never been able to run is because I've never fucking tried.
Yeah.
Oh shit, just like everything else. And so sure enough, go do the event. And like my goal for the event wasn't a speed thing. I didn't have any expectation on it. I wanted to be in shape enough to enjoy being out there. I didn't want to feel like I was on a death march trying to get to the end. And then after that, the year after, I did another endurance thing with the Katy Trail runs all the way across Missouri. And so it's 243 miles.
Does it go through the Ozarks?
No, it runs east to west.
Okay.
And it's 243 miles. It's pretty flat. It's a beautiful gravel path. So I rode it on my bicycle. And I did it in a day. So it took 21 hours and 22 minutes, start to finish. And like, as a strength athlete, I've never done anything for that long.
No.
Right? There's such an interesting battle.
Not even lay around.
Right. There's such an interesting battle that starts going on mentally.
Oh, I know.
That
yeah.
I'd never had to access with strength.
So I've heard people talk about this. I've heard about the Tour de France pros. I've heard about the guys that do the, forgive me for bastardizing it, but it's a rite of passage in Hawaii.
Oh, like
by the way,
hopefully between islands.
Hopefully they're getting their shit figured out over there. God bless them. You know, it's bad. We got to do something about that, man. It's burning down.
Yeah, it's fucked.
So anyway, the rite of passage, my friend did it. And he was a powerlifter strength athlete. He's like, dude, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. I was crying. I went through all these emotions. I went through like all the different, anger and then, loss and all these different emotions he went through during this time because it was something ridiculous.
What ends up happening in the endurance thing for me, right, especially over that like 22-hour day, everything that like a full cycle of powerlifting would bring me, I have to deal with that day.
That's a lot.
Because there's so much like with throwing or lifting that there's no time for feedback while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Right? Like you do the thing and then I take a fucking minute and make a decision for the next one.
Yeah.
I'm just going for 21 hours. And so like you're just on the fly. You're like, well, how do we feel? Fuck, we need to eat. How do we, and so that was for me the challenge of like, if I can hydrate, if I can fuel myself, which is like 26,000 fucking calories for the day, for that effort.
What do you eat?
Anything I could fucking get in my mouth.
Like what would
I
be
eat gummy bears.
Good calorically dense? So
I ate gummy bears and shit with peanut butter.
So you had the simple sugars with the candy and then just a little bit of fat. And
on game day, dude,
protein,
who gives a shit? Whatever keeps me moving. But it's the first time as an athlete that I've ever been fucking empty. Like completely fucking out of calories. Because we had started at midnight and by like 6 a.m., I just hadn't eaten. And so like at 6 a.m., we're like 100 miles in and I really haven't eaten much. And like the sun's starting to come up. And dude, I am fading. I am struggling. I'm trying to fall asleep on my bike. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh man, we got a long fucking day ahead of us for this to be what's going on. And then I was like, oh shit, I haven't fucking been eating for the last 3 hours.
Oh, yeah.
And so like I grabbed a Snickers bar, which is like 300 calories, right?
Right.
I know from my training
some good shit in there
that
though.
I average about 1,200 calories an hour pedaling.
Okay.
So that Snickers bar, I felt it within like 90 seconds of eating it. Mm-hmm. I felt like the system turned back on.
But it's only 20 minutes of calories.
That's it, and I felt it leave.
Yeah.
I was like, I've never felt calories come in my system and then fucking go back to empty. I've never been doing a thing.
You literally didn't have energy.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting. So I learned a lot just how to fuel properly. I also learned a lot of, man, when the voice shows up to say like, oh, I'm tired and we need to stop.
How close were you to quitting?
The first time that shows up?
Honestly.
The first time that, quitting? No.
It just wasn't an option.
No. Okay. I knew that I'd get it done. I mean, it was either I'm going to pedal until I can't anymore, which would be a totally acceptable finish.
Yeah.
Or we got to the end. But like I didn't have a pace I was chasing.
Gotcha.
We stopped and rested for an hour here and there and took a fucking nap. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So like it was me and a friend wrote it.
Wow.
But it was a really cool lesson. And then I look at that now, if I can do that, like what other opportunities for activities have opened up in my fucking world that I could go do?
A lot more than just throwing and lifting.
Yeah.
You can do anything.
Right? Because you like me, right? Like you've unlocked the recipe to be fucking great at anything. Mm-hmm. Congratulations. It takes 20 years.
Yeah.
What's the next thing you'd like to pick?
Yeah.
Because in 20 years, starting today from zero, you could be a fucking Michelin star chef.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
Yeah.
but set the sights on something else the same way you did the lifting thing.
And that's what I've been able to do, luckily, with my coaching and seeing people for their back pain and learning so much from Dr. McGill. And, you know, we saw a few people back in April together, which was cool. We saw a lady in her 60s. She runs about 200 miles a week. She's like a beast. And then we saw a middle-aged person, male, police officer, 40 years old, different injury than the first one. Then we saw a 17-year-old stud athlete, scholarship offers in baseball and football. He's going to USC now, and his back was all jacked up, different injury, all three of them. So I got to tag team some client patients with Dr. McGill, and even though I've been like doing really well with coaching my own people and seeing them, dude, it just took it to a whole nother level, spending 3 days with them, seeing these people and just watching, like, even though I know and think I know because of the time I spent around them, and I've seen people multiple times with them, you know, some really like cool stuff going on. And but this time was different because it was 3 different demographics, 3 different goals to come back. One just wants to live his life again. One guy that just wants to be a power lifter, even though he's a stud football player and baseball player. But you can't talk him out of it. It's like,
well, I mean, look, I think, nor do I fucking want to.
Right,
and I want anyone to pursue their fucking choice of greatness, but you're the one who also has to suffer the consequences.
You want to be a good influence on people, and you want to like try to give them like good wisdom, but at the same time, you don't want them blaming you for you, dude, like saying, hey, you know, they go and they go and yeah, man, you know, go play baseball, and they hate their coach and end up quitting freshman year or something.
It still all comes back to total accountability.
Yep.
And if you want to power lift, let's fucking go, but understand what we're doing. Mm-hmm. You know, like, you know, Kelly Starrett.
Oh yeah.
Kelly, he's been a mentor and brother and one of my favorite fucking
I've never met him. Dude
has changed my life in more ways than I can possibly think about. From mindset to view, just everything. Great fucking guy. And one of the things he said that I fucking just loved was, you know, at the end of my time here on Earth, when they cut me in half and they examined the rings on this tree, there's a couple decades of fire damage. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, fuck yeah, there is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, fuck yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to stay fire damage, but like, I'm gonna fucking run it. I want to know, man. I want to know what I'm fucking capable of.
How long do you want to live till?
As long as possible.
Yeah. But with as much dexterity and being able to get around as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't have any plans to turn this machine with any miles left on it.
What happens if, and I'm just curious because I have my own thoughts on me. What if all that stuff's gone, but you're still cognizant, you still got everything upstairs, but you can't even hardly go for a walk?
Am I in pain?
You just can't. You're able to modulate your pain. You're just living. That's all you can do. You can't exercise, can't really do much. You can't be who you are unless you're going to be a much different Matt Vincent at 85 or 90 or 100. So I wouldn't expect an answer. That's kind of a...
I'm not sure how I would handle that challenge given to me.
Me either.
I don't think the outcome's great.
Yeah, agree.
I think I'd punch out.
Yeah, I would too.
Look, man, I mean, part of totally accountable, right, is like, I don't feel obligated to be here alive. Mm-hmm. I fucking choose to be here. I want this fucking life, man.
When you were in your 20s, did you, see, me personally, I didn't give a shit or even plan to make my 40s. And it wasn't that I did like crazy amounts of juice or anything. I did like, I mean, people would laugh if I say like I did a little bit, but I didn't do, I didn't do the 5 grams of test West Side style.
Sure.
And 2 grams of deca and a gram of tren. I was more like a gram of test, 750 deca, 600 EQ, a little bit of D, a little bit of A.
Right, but you're talking about see, not a lot of gear in the realm of people who do a lot of gear.
We're talking about in the
1% of people on the planet who take performance enhancing drugs.
The most notorious gear takers out of those people.
And look, there's people that get a hard on for being the most notorious gear taker. You know, I mean, right on, whatever.
And I've seen and I knew these people too, and they would just have an allotment of bottles for the cycle. In the last week of the meet, they would take whatever was left over. And I was like, wow, that's
that's.
And so he's like, look, sometimes man, I'm hammering a deca,
and cool.
a trend.
So that's the fire damage that we're going to see in that fucking decade. But we're not allowed to pretend there aren't consequences for our fucking actions.
There's a legend that There's a legend in powerlifting I've heard from 3 different sources, all 3 of these sources. And one is the greatest powerlifter of all time, and one is one of the other greatest powerlifters of all time. And one got word that lifter 1 was taking 20 cc's of suspension the night before a big meet. So lifter 2 went and took 30. So he took a bottle and a half the night before. And this was corroborated by the 2 guys and a third party. I'm just not going to like throw them out there. But it's a couple of the greatest.
Is there any proof that any of this shit works that short term?
No, and it could be detrimental because just think
of course it would be.
Now you know more about your body and the systems and stuff. Possibly due to your blood pressure and blood sugar.
It's not good. It's not anything
and
beneficial.
What about how thick your blood would get?
Well, that's fuck.
Right?
I've heard stories too, like
that'd have to be after a weight cut and all that BS, and then hammering a bunch of A and D and all that stuff and suspension.
I mean, fuck, I've heard that within strongman, right? Like guys using EPO.
What is your blood doing?
It's not great, man.
And then
it's just like syrup.
All right, so it's already syrup, but you're just warming up. What is it like under 1,300 pounds? With the squat suit on and knee wraps, and you're constricted, every single way possible.
And with that said, we haven't lost that many people.
But I'm here.
It's just fucking incredible.
Yeah. And I feel good.
Yeah.
My blood pressure's normal.
I mean, with that said, there's a point that it'll win.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a number of shots you get and decide how close you want to get to dying.
I wonder what that limit is. And I wonder what's up, besides the diuretic aspect of the bodybuilder deaths, what's up with the heart stuff and the bodybuilders dying?
I always just I don't know enough, and I know very fucking little about drugs involved with bodybuilding. As a rock thrower and as far from being a fucking medical doctor as I could possibly be, I've kind of always assumed that when I hear deaths within strength sports,
right,
bodybuilding, everything, somebody fucked up insulin.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
what I think it is every fucking time. Because there isn't any of the other shit that'll fucking kill you dead. Mm-hmm. And the insulin will. Mm-hmm. That's one I won't ever fuck with.
Or the the diuretics too. People just get dry out and their heart stops. Yeah. Their potassium, calcium, magnesium balance gets wonky, and then
especially then mixing insulin, especially with feeding windows or whatever they're doing, right? That I mean, they're manipulating everything at the highest fucking level.
And the other people that are dying are just dying slower from cholesterol and heart attacks and AFib and all that stuff is what happens. But that's more cumulative over time.
Sure, just time, just stress.
Yeah. But insulin. Yeah, there's been some people in Jacksonville that would just get bad advice on insulin, and they would try to push the envelope by how they could time the workout and then the insulin and then the carbs, and they'd push the envelope longer and longer. They'd wait to start getting a little lightheaded, and then I never understood that stuff.
Yep, I don't either. And my sport didn't require it. I don't know how I would have responded if I thought that's what between me being in the best in the world would have been. So I don't know, right? Like I know Highland Games, luckily for me, was a drug-tested sport, so it kept us really limited.
It is.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's drug-tested. I got tested like 6 or 7 times a season, fully random. And they were full official, like USDA.
I didn't know.
Yeah, especially if I go to Scotland. I get tested fucking like 6 days in a row. Yeah.
Oh, man.
The drug stuff, it's not like it wouldn't help throwing. Of fucking course it would.
Okay.
But it's such a technical sport, and it's so also submaximal weight.
Understood.
Right? So, again, like what guys, if you're going to do it, you run off season or do any of that type of stuff. I mean, if I could, would I throw further had I had run tests the whole time I competed? Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like kind of
I'd be stronger and still be able to, have, if I added 5% more strength to what I was doing, it would throw further.
I think it would have aided you in recovery a lot.
I'm sure.
And healing.
Yeah, I'm sure. But luckily, like Highland Games wasn't that. That's why we could compete 20 times.
Yeah.
Because it's just not as cooked on the CNS. And also the way my season's built, right? Like I'm trying to win worlds in August. Mm-hmm. I ain't trying to throw PRs in May.
Right. What about these people now? And this is, I've been talked about a million times, but people are just PRing to put it on the internet. And I never would try to PR in training.
Yeah, we're in different worlds. Do you know what I mean? Like when you and I both got into the string sports, there was no fucking business here. Mm-mm. And having a feeling that that's the way it was, it ain't never going back, man. It's fucking transitioned. And then the fact when I started doing content on YouTube and started doing shit filming, even when I was at Gary's, I look like an asshole.
Yeah.
Right? And I get it. I get why you look like an asshole doing it.
Yeah.
And at that point, anybody who would have said to me, like, would you recommend anyone doing this? And I would say fucking no. But now, yeah. Because,
isn't that weird?
My fucking life rules.
You were doing it and you're like, don't do this. And
well, at that point, because like I had a real fucking job. Mm-hmm. I had an outside sales job that I was making good fucking money.
You weren't a powerlifter?
No.
That's what people say to me. So,
no. The whole time I competed, I had a real fucking job. Mm-hmm. And had a career and traveled. And once it kind of went to shit, once I'd started the brand in 2014 and then by 2017 was hurt and then got fired from the regular job, I just went all in.
I started my on my own in 14 also.
Yeah.
April.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, best decision I ever made.
So what's the next moves, man? Like what's plans going forward with it?
So I want to get to a point where, all right, so let's back up. So the training aspect is something I've suffered with, but the business aspect has completely like consumed me in a good way. Yep. So I'm in a good spot with that. I just got to get to where I can really work on training, being a privilege and something I need to do for my health. I got 2 3-year-old daughters.
Dude,
be healthy.
Well, I mean, look at your opportunity to lead. Mm-hmm. Right? What you have the opportunity to actually teach your daughters instead of talking about it is, I got this big for one specific fucking reason and I accomplished the goal. I can change. That change is possible. That it is consistency. It's action. Right? Like it's showing that health is a priority in the fucking house. In the same way growing up in my house, I look at that, not out of malicious intent or anything, just the way my parents are, set my views on a lot of things. Like me going into entrepreneurship always felt really fucking weird. My parents held stable jobs for 35 years and 40 years at the same place.
Yeah, my dad was a fireman, so that's
this was fucking crazy.
That's a definition. Having a city job where you're a cop or police or fireman, that's a definition of a steady pension.
Yeah, my dad worked in refineries, and that's where I ended up going.
And this is the opposite of life. This is the opposite of stability.
Kinda. Yeah, it doesn't feel that way anymore.
No. I'm super stable, but when you look at it from a pension, from like on paper, you look at it like no guarantees.
But that's also the fucking old rule. Yep. That's coming from a generation of people who had fucking pensions, who had these things, who played by different fucking rules. They're not the same anymore.
They're not.
And with that said, there's a lot of options to make money now that are the wild fucking West. Mm-hmm. So like we're investing in property and doing short-term rentals and fucking, I'm making as many moves as I can. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I want to do in 10 years. I have no fucking clue what 50-year-old me wants to do.
Do you think they're going to, and there's a lot of stuff that's, every time you're saying, there's a lot of different ways that I want to answer, but when you talk about 10 years from now, do you think they're going to do away with any kind of physical currency? Are they going to ban it? Are they going to make it null and void? What do you think is going to happen with that?
No clue. I mean, I think the cash thing's a bit of a representative at this. It's a mascot at this point. It's not really valuable. We print when we want to.
I know.
I mean, it's an agreement. And currently...
So how long till they make that agreement null and void?
I don't know. So whether cash stays available, who fucking knows?
Right.
And as long as the currency system...
That don't take it, which is weird.
As long as the currency system continues to operate the way it does...
I'll gladly take people's cash.
Well, I'll also happily make money in the U.S. and live in another country.
Yeah.
I don't have that limitation. I'll fucking happily live in South Africa on a giant fucking place in a beautiful area.
What's the cost of living in what part of South Africa are you talking?
So we were looking at an area called what's the name of it? Plettenberg Bay.
Okay.
And I mean, beautiful.
I just know Durban because
other side. Yeah, I'm not doing the city
because of the Durban.
Yeah,
poison weed.
This is as big of a city as I'll probably ever fucking live in.
Yeah.
But I really like the chapter I'm in. But I know I'm not here permanently.
Really?
No, for sure. I don't know that I'm going to live anywhere permanently. I'm cool with that. I like the idea that I just want to embrace each chapter as whatever it's going to be as much as possible for as long as I want to. Mm-hmm. So part of the job of this chapter is giving that guy as many fucking options for success as he wants.
I like that, and I like the different streams of revenue and income.
Sure.
You got to be diversified, because who knows what's going to happen especially in the next couple of years. So I've been able to transition well from the lifting aspect. I just let that part just go. No problem with that. I was sick of it. It was just time. Didn't mean I didn't. Still loved it, but it was just too much. I knew eventually something's gonna. When I did the third attempt, 1285 for the biggest squat ever done was that third attempt, but I got a fourth attempt, and I could go up to however many kilos more for a fourth attempt and it still count. But I felt like the pressure was just another world. Like I'd hit a lot of 1,000-pound squats from like 2000.
It's 30% more than that.
What's that?
It's 30% more than that. I've done a 1,000-pound squat. It's fucking awful.
Yeah. So I've done now six. I think I did 60,000-pound squats in four different weight classes. But dude, that's not even the thing. Like, how many times did I have to do it in training?
Of course. Yeah, the cumulative damage, man.
Yeah. So, and then I did 1,100 and 3 weight classes. But when the different pressure feeling with that 1280, I felt like everything wanted to just not food,
just your guts
wanted to come up through my throat, and I could feel the stress here in my throat, into my sternum, from my stomach, and from like the area I have a little bit of a hernia. Dude, everything just wanted to just blah. And that scared me a little bit, but I was like, let's just, if the wheels fall off on this next one, whatever, I'm done either way, let's just go for it.
Right. And so that's why, like, that big shift, right, to the mindset that like, so for me, it really changed up. Not from the knee replacement, like honestly was during ayahuasca ceremony. Honestly, it was, we were in Costa Rica, and one of the nights I was there, whatever had come through, was this conversation with my knee and hip. And it was basically like, hey man, can we talk? And so it's like, everything going well in your life is based on work we've done. And we've died on our shield for this fucking cause.
Yeah.
Right? So how about a little fucking respect? Because you travel around the world. And this
is how this went.
Yeah, this is what my knee and hips tell me, right? So how about a little fucking respect?
Wow.
And it says, you've traveled around the world, and you meet all these fucking experts, and you consider yourself a craftsman when it comes to strength. That like, this is expertise.
Right.
And yet, to address me, you just grabbed the fucking sledgehammer.
Yeah.
And I quit.
Wow.
And from that point on, it's been a thank you. Because thank you for all those fucking years. Because other people don't get that. The fact that your body responded and showed up for all that, like, that's why we're taking care of it now. It's like, hey, man, I know we fucking set you on fire for a fucking decade. Let's be cool for a bit.
What did you put in this weed to have me? I understand what you're saying. You're not changing my mind on stuff, because I didn't have an opinion on a lot of the stuff you're saying, but it's good perspective to have, to think about what I've done to my back, what I've done to my shoulders, and not to be a little bit of a bitch, not to be a bitch. If my shoulders are a little achy, oh, your shoulder is achy. Well, what about this person that got blown up in Iraq?
Sure.
They don't have an arm. Are they bitching about their arm right now? Your shoulder aches. It's going to be fine in an hour. Shut up.
Yeah,
you know
but
what I mean?
like you can go that route about it, right? But still the stick you're using to get motivation from is out of like lack and being shitty to yourself.
Right.
Whereas if I can choose to do it because, I'm training because I love my body. Because my body's given me everything I fucking ever done in this world. How lucky I was to be dropped into this fucking machine.
Yeah.
Instead of another one.
Yeah,
Dude, this thing did anything I've ever fucking asked it to for 35
Dude,
fucking
I could be
years.
a fat white person from West Virginia. But with the caveat is my wife's from West Virginia, so I can say that.
Sure, right.
And she's none of those things.
And
but
so, like,
I could have been born in that body. Yeah.
Either becoming a world champion can become a fluke,
right?
Or I can show that that's something I fucking learned to get greatness out of myself in any way I want.
Yeah, that's what a lot of Dave Tate talks about, in training and the hardships you go through to build, like the trips you talked about earlier, like that were difficult. One year I was cutting 25 pounds from 240. I was catching a flight to Vegas, and it got delayed, and then more, and then fly to DC, and then cutting weight in the airport, not knowing, hadn't eaten anything in over a day. Finally get there to weigh-ins a day late, and sweat a little, make weight, and go and lift really well. But that alone, like how far I could go the whole day, not knowing what I was weighing in the airport, not drinking, not knowing if I was even going to make the weigh-ins on time. I almost missed weigh-ins, but those lessons and the mental toughness that I was able to build over years and years of time, going through stuff, it definitely helped me get through writing the book when it was hard. And this perspective now helps me to be able to shift my focus to be excellent at coaching people and getting people out of their back pain. And I work with, people in the UFC and Major League Baseball players and NBAers and stuff. And then I have a lot of people that are just, I want to pick my kid up out of the crib again. And I failed with traditional physical therapy. The model here is just, it's really busted at best.
Right. And so part of that, right? If that's going to be your purpose and that's going to be your goal, train with that in mind, right? That we don't have to be Brian Carroll world champion at all anymore, right? So now the people you're trying to reach, like they're going to have to run a filter of deciding how healthy you are to whether or not that's a fucking available amount of evidence to say that you know what you're talking about.
Right.
And so like, this thing's a fucking billboard, man.
Yeah.
The same way it showed how fucking strong you were.
Yeah.
So adapt it to the next thing.
Yeah, you're right.
Right? Like that's the fucking goal.
Yeah.
Because do I hate that that's a fact that people look at it that way? I do. But I can't fix that.
Right. No.
And making none of those moves for me to be able to communicate my message better is a fail.
Right. True.
Right. And so like being able to look at the abundance of everything too, and like the total accountability of realizing that everything's a choice, including how fucking lucky you are to be a Homo sapien, which we've been around in some form for like the last 180,000 years, that something you chose to do was take diuretics and die while traveling the world to go lift weight at a place, which none of which could be fucking important.
Right.
But your perspective on the moment has created that being the fucking purpose of your reality.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it important. It makes your perspective of it create the reality. So wherever you want to put your perspective as your purpose, it's on you.
Yeah.
And the better you can control that perspective of being like, oh, how fucking lucky I am that I got to do that. There's people that don't get to have any hobbies, much less travel the fucking world for them.
Yeah, you're right. Got to be grateful for that. And in the moment, you're just surviving. You're just trying to win. You're trying to make weight. And I wish I could have enjoyed it more.
How many people say that, right? And so like take note of that in 10 years, you don't want to say that again. So the stage that you're in right now, which is creating this chapter 2, right? Of like building the business thing and creating all that. Like, I wish I enjoyed it more.
I'm in a much better place mentally, and part of that is all the drugs, not being on all the drugs anymore.
Sure.
But I can enjoy myself a lot more because, the drugs play a part, but the focus and the training and how you have to be so aggressive to lift the weight and everything, I'm such a better place now in this second phase, and I'm glad that I didn't have kids during this time because I'd have been much more of a dick and just, it just wouldn't have been the priority that it needs to be if you have your own children.
Hey, when your back was fucked up, I know you mentioned that you've dabbled with mushrooms quite a bit. Did you take any of those when your back was fucked up?
I didn't even smoke weed back then.
Okay.
So
I got started with cannabis to sort pain out.
Okay.
That was kind of the original plan.
So I started taking cannabis the year that I got my back figured out with Dr. McGill.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. So one of the things, the first time I had taken mushrooms that I noticed was it was the first time that I could have said like my pain was at a 0 in years. I didn't need to go fucking train or anything.
Right.
But like I felt like my CNS got a real fucking vacation from being on guard. And like that feeling of that deload on my system, I was like, oh shit, that's interesting.
Well, you desensitize the tissue when you create stress concentrations and injury and pain. the nerves get sensitized. And if you continue to strike that nerve over and over, it's going to continue to wind up. More damage is going to be created. It's going to become cumulative. But reverse that by winding it down, backing off what's causing your pain. Find areas of reprieve that you can use, whether it's a belly lie or maybe hanging from a pull-up bar or something. I saw you do a decompression.
Yeah, I've been recently playing around with more of that.
Yeah, and I can show you a few things that you can do. But it's all about that, man. It's all about finding things that make you feel better and then slowly getting back to doing what you want to do. But people, you know what
I'm
I
just
see?
glad I got someone telling me to take more mushrooms. It's great for me.
No, that's it. You got to desensitize and let the tissue heal. And the biggest mistake I see people make, and unfortunately some people I help, it works against them that they get pain-free so quick because they get right back into bodybuilding or lifting, and then they're desensitized.
Those people who heal fast, as they say.
Yeah, it can take years.
As if your
years.
tissue's fucking magic.
Right, especially the tissues of the disc. It's a different type of material. So you have people that, unfortunately, that are hyper responders. Like, they listen to everything you say. They get pain-free in 2 days sometimes, 2 weeks. They're not healed. They've just wound down. Right. They've desensitized.
They just unfucked it, yeah.
They desensitized, and now they got to build over the coming months tissue tolerance. That way it doesn't just wind up again as soon as you expose it to load. These people, unfortunately, the thing that makes them great is also their undoing, and they go back and they start training heavy on machines and stuff a month later, and they destroy themselves. But they're like, I'm pain-free. It's been 5 weeks, and I said, you need to take 2 months off from lifting.
Yeah.
2 months off from any lifting besides what I'm going to have you do, and that's going to be some core work and some walking.
I get it. I trained that way for a real fucking long time.
Did you?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get to be the best in the world fucking playing it safe.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Think about this, though. Think about how silly we are. It's like you had times where you felt pretty good when you weren't training, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like now, right? Like my training really consists of I do an hour of cardio every fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I move as I fucking want to. I am going to bench, squat, deadlift, and overhead press in some fucking regard every week.
Yeah.
That can be with a trap bar. It can be with 135. I don't care.
Yeah.
I can slow it down and do tempo if I fucking feel like it. I can switch to a box, but we're doing something.
Right.
More pull-ups, more push-ups, more time zone 2 cardio. Zone 2 cardio leads to fucking 60% less of all life mortality.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I'm interested in that performance enhancer going fucking forward, not a strong bench.
Right.
It doesn't serve me well where I'm headed.
Right. Big bench.
Fucking get rid of it.
Right.
Yeah, I want longevity. I want to be able to, I want longevity, and I want to be in shape enough to say fucking yes to any adventure that comes across. Fuck, I don't want to say no to stuff.
There's a guy that I know. You probably heard of him before, Sean Frankel.
Yeah.
Okay. So he was the only guy that beat me at that senior nationals that I flew to Vegas. He was just kind of untouchable at the time, but I got second and still had a good meet that day. But Sean he's definitely a freak. I remember when about 2007, people were talking a lot of shit about his total, or maybe 2010. They're talking a lot of shit about his equipped total.
Did.
Yeah, for sure. And then, one day he goes in the gym and hands off to himself 550 with no wrist straps or elbow sleeves, comes down, pauses it, presses it up, and just puts it back in the rack. And everyone's like, he can't bench, 405 without a shirt, and he does 550 by himself, no handoff, nothing. But I was having a talk with him the other day, and he was telling me how he's always, the thing that made him, I said to him, the thing that made him better than me, and the way he was able to break the all-time record in the total at 220 when he quit by 150 pounds. He smashed it. Matt Kroc had it at 25.51. Frankel went 27.15 and quit. Didn't cut weight for 220. Matt cut 30 pounds. It's like he just annihilated the total. And so he quit. And I said, Sean, the reason why I think that you're able to go to the next level beyond your physical talent is your fearlessness. And that worked against you because he's had a shitload of surgeries the last couple of years. And he just keeps hurting himself. And he's like, he's very sensitive to
that's how it goes.
Anything, right? And I said, but I don't have these things, but I also had a shutoff switch when it should have been on still at a meet or going into a meet or in training. He had no breaks. I had breaks because he goes, but look at you now. You don't have all the shit going on that I do. Your body hasn't fallen apart. And you also think about things. I never thought about anything. So then he goes and tells, he went on a trip to Peru recently. You know that shit you've been seeing on social media where they camp on the side of the mountain and all that stuff? You've probably done that. Okay. So he did that. And he climbed one of the tallest mountains in Peru with 12 weeks of training. He just decided he was just going to climb. He hadn't done any of this in the last 10 years.
Yeah,
he just decided he wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Sean, I wouldn't have done that. I would have taken probably about 6 months to train for that.
Yeah, but
he did it in 12 weeks.
Yeah. You could fucking do it, dude.
He's crazy.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. You could do it.
Yeah.
Like that's it, right? Like you've already unlocked the thing that doing impossible shit's possible.
I guess the problem is I don't have a desire to do that. I don't like
that's
heights.
Right, but so that's part of where it becomes.
Yeah.
Right? Like is in where the desire comes from. And for me, I now try to look at it like, what do I learn from it?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I want. I don't give a fuck about destinations. I give a shit. I want to know what I'm picking up along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so any of that stuff of like, oh, fuck, man, a lot of ways I've never been pushed. I need to set it on fire and go for it. Especially for 10 weeks. Pfft. You know how many 10 weeks I'm doing anything out of routine? Not anymore. But like, it's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to not do it. And in that same 10 fucking weeks, you could have an entire fucking adventure and chapter and learn a bunch of new shit.
What do you think about that? What's it called in Tennessee? That old mountain man runs that.
The Barkley Marathons.
Yeah.
That's
what do you think
gnarly.
about that?
I think it's fucking crazy hard. Man, there are people out there in the same way I love the complete savagery of the top heavyweight fucking powerlifters or strongman, right? Like I fucking love it. I now love just greatness in anything.
I appreciate it, the NBA.
In fucking
everything.
anything, dude.
Yeah.
I recently watched, Michael Jordan's the 30 for 30.
It's great.
The Last Dance?
The Last Dance.
It's great, right? And like, you know how it is as an athlete, like when you have those flow state days when dude like fucking put whatever on the bar, we're going.
1300.
Yeah, you just feel it, right?
The most I'd ever had on my back in my life was 1205 in my life.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And like the flow state on those days and the confidence that you have of like, we're fucking doing it. Like there's no doubt in there. And I remember having that at World Championships throwing and like that feeling. I would imagine there's a spectrum of that feeling, right? I bet Tom Brady has a different feeling of that than I do.
For sure.
Right. Especially like being able to walk into that stadium in like the fourth quarter of a Super Bowl and still be able to say like, we're fucking doing.
Yeah.
I'm here.
It's pretty much
let him fucking have it, right?
Yeah.
And man, Michael Jordan at his peak, the feeling of that playing in the NBA against the best in the fucking world too, and just being head and shoulders above, not just as an athlete, but up here.
And all the while growing a $1 billion business.
Fuck yeah.
Just crushing everything, crushing people on the golf course, drinking a pitcher of beer before, games and taking over the dream team. Like he just.
Dude, one of my favorite parts of that whole documentary is after he comes back from baseball and they're filming Space Jam. And he ends up having like everyone in the NBA out there for these like private basketball games, right? And like there's no fucking camera crew. And I just love that I was seeing the best dudes in the world playing like kids.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, that's cool, man.
There's some rough shit going on.
Yeah,
sure.
and like, fuck, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Let him just play the game.
Well, he, if you watch the documentary, he was known for punching teammates in the face.
He's a motherfucker, dude. That's part of the cost of being the best in the world.
Yeah,
That's part of it.
It is.
Because most people don't understand the level of singular focus it takes to accomplish it.
He didn't care what it took to win.
That's what you hired me for.
Yeah. You
didn't hire me to be anyone's fucking friend. And is there other ways to accomplish it? Sure.
There's a lot
but
of
it fucking
ways.
Worked. So why would he ever change the decisions he's fucking making? Do you know what I mean? Like, what negative fucking response did he get from any of this being an asshole or being too competitive?
Yeah.
He hasn't. It's fucking worked 100% of the time.
Yeah.
Is it uncomfortable for people to be around someone like that? Yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely a beast. He's my favorite athlete. You know, I grew up watching him. You know, watch it.
I think, man, you would have to put him up there as far as like top 5 savage competitors at their best.
Killer instinct.
Yeah, like him, Mike Tyson, like at their fucking best, just as a competitor.
I had a hard time having just 5 because then.
Oh, of course.
And then you'd have to look at Anderson Silva or John Jones, even though John Jones has been at the top much longer than Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva did about 7 years.
Yeah.
You know, he did about 7 years where he's on top and just annihilated everybody. But, you know, John Jones has had some hiccups in his career, but he's been untouchable his whole career.
Untouchable.
The one
he's
loss,
a freak.
The loss in DQ he has are bullshit.
Yeah, he's head and shoulders above
He was about
else.
to murder Matt Hamill.
Yep.
He was going to die if they didn't stop that fight. And the 12-6 elbows are stupid. You can kick someone in the head. You can knee someone on all fours.
Yeah. His only loss is a total fucking bullshit.
And what he did to DC the last time was that was a fucking Mortal Kombat finish. High kick, trip, throw, elbows, punches, and just walked away.
Oh, he's gnarly.
DC knows that he would have got beat to death. And John Jones said, I'll fucking beat you to death. He goes, whatever. He goes, you think I'm just going to let you beat me to death? He goes, I will fucking beat you to death, Daniel Cormier, because, you know, he's kind of a dork.
Oh, yeah.
John Jones is a little bit of a dork, right?
Yeah, sure.
A little dorky, right? I wouldn't say that to him. I'd be like, John, man, what's up, dude? He is my favorite fighter, but he's a little
fucking
corny.
savage, dude.
Dude, this killer instinct just to be dirty, what he did to Machida, and just dropped the dude and just walked away while he just crumbled from that guillotine. Fucking savage.
He's a fucking animal. I bet Tiger Woods in his prime as
For
well.
sure. Killer.
You know, when he showed up and like really snapped in, he changed fucking golf. Before that, we didn't have the athletes.
Yeah.
And he showed up and started fucking just murdering everyone.
And then you'd have to look at maybe some of Khabib just smashing people. Conor McGregor for about a year and a half. That was
exciting,
crazy.
dude.
That was crazy. He was a savage, dude. What he did to Aldo, he ruined that dude's life for a bit.
Have you watched the Jake Paul documentary yet?
Yeah, I have.
I thought it was fucking great.
Yeah. I have
every fucking bit of it was great.
I have an experience with him.
Do you?
I mean, it's not like a big one, but so I was in 2021, UFC came back to Jacksonville. So I was on the Octagon. My friend ran security, so I was on the Octagon. Well, Jake Paul, Antonio Brown, and his whole crew was there. And so they put detail on him because Masvidal was fighting Usman, number 2. Masvidal got knocked out, the whole thing in the first round. But if Masvidal won, they had word that Jake Paul and Antonio Brown were going to get in the Octagon. They're going to run up and like rush it. So they moved me right in front of Jake Paul and Antonio Brown, and to make sure that if it happened, that me and one of my buddies weren't going to let him get into the Octagon. But he was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I imagine he is.
But completely ESPN and UFC was playing the game with them because they had.
Why wouldn't you?
They had the ESPN iPhones and all that. Like, here you go, make a promo, and he's like, fuck the UFC.
Why wouldn't you?
It's great.
Why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
The whole documentary is fucking great.
Yeah.
And like, what people, I think it's really struggle for people to see is to live your life with that much intention. And understand the long-term game he's playing. I fucking love that the rules don't exist anymore, right? That he's like, oh, being the best boxer in the world, like that's not his goal. His goal is to sell the biggest fucking pay-per-views of any boxer in the world.
Here's the thing
and that's
that hurts.
fucking doable, my friend.
Here's the thing that hurts. No one cares that he's not the best boxer in the
No one
world.
gives
No
a
one
fuck.
cares if you are the best boxer in the world. That's a hard pill to swallow.
Especially not on its own accord.
Who do people...
I mean, how many athletes do we know as powerlifters that are bitter as soon as the social media thing kicked off because other people are making money with less whatever you want to call it?
Right. You know, powerlifting also attracts a lot of just, kind of outcast people too that just seem like they're kind of bitter and like angry
they're
too.
lifting to prove something to someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I did it to prove it to me. Like
right.
I wanted, so I grew up playing baseball and I was good. Wasn't good enough to go anywhere with it. I could have, I had some opportunities to play like community college and stuff. Like I was, one of the better players in the city, but I was no Albert Pujols or A-Rod coming out when I was.
Sure.
They came out around when I did, and so I was a little like frustrated that I wasn't able to do a little bit better than that. So I quit baseball after I graduated high school, and then like just submersed myself into weight training. And then it led to some, competing in bench press when I was 17 in competitions, and one in Tampa, 2 in Tampa, 1 in Bradenton. And it just like, that's what I completely focused my whole being on, is just getting strong and jacked. And then the pathway to powerlifting went. It segued in bodybuilding for a minute, didn't like that. And then powerlifting like really became myopic 2003. Like 19, 20, 21, or 2001, 2002. Those years I was like getting there. I just want to get big and jacked, train. And then all of a sudden I was like, gone with it. Didn't care about nothing else. Didn't care.
Yeah, it's fun. I love that fucking pursuit.
Yeah. You just live to go and squat Saturday morning. Nothing else matters. If you have a freaking good squat day, or you're peaking for a meet and you have a good squat or deadlift day, nothing else is better. No drug, no. Sex. I don't know. I mean, maybe what you should do is hit a big squat.
The sex I have is.
Yeah. Maybe you should hit a big squat, get that feeling, smoke a little weed, get that feeling, and then have sex. And then you have
it's a great day.
Yeah.
Fucking big win.
Just don't depend on just one of those to make you happy.
Yeah, that mindset that got us there, right? Like to that peak level, and realizing how uninherently important the Highland Games are in the grand scheme of humanity, let's say.
Right.
Then that lets it really become to me this like realize like how much of all of that I got from it was a choice. That like I got it from pursuing this thing that I love that isn't fucking important.
Because otherwise it isn't there.
Right. It's not even fucking important.
No.
And so that means the only reason it was important is because I decided it was. And so it's up for me to pick what the things are I want to put all of that effort in. It's the Highland Games, and down the path of that, which was my first pursuit of greatness, is what got me to the opportunity to open a brand and got me the opportunity to try the other stuff I've done. When I got injured, it's what took the resistance off of still holding on to that world and allowed me to pour fully into this. But it goes with the same intensity toward what makes me the best at Matt Vincent in this chapter as what made me the fucking best at that one thing. Right? And that's chasing curiosity of like, what can I do to get fucking better performance wise? And now instead of, upping gear, I find using the cold plunge. I'm interested in fucking performance enhancement. Mm-hmm. And whatever the goal in that chapter is, whatever's going to fucking get me there the best is what I want.
Do you do the contrast, the sauna? And
I do every day. Yeah. Usually twice a day.
Supposedly that's the best way to do that. Contrast.
What
do you think?
So here's why I really like it. Every single day with the sauna, the scientific benefits of it are fucking great. I like that it improves zone 2 cardio. I like that it increases the immune system. It helps regulate hormones. It downregulates us and put us back into parasympathetic nervous state. X, Y, and Z. These are all great, and those happen whether or not I give a fuck about doing it. If I get in and spend the time, those things happen.
Putting dollars in the bank account.
That's it. But where I look at the real benefit, right, is the mindset of it, of both of those things every single day. The sauna being kind of long-term, right? To like, once I get in and I'm over an hour, I'm fucking uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And I get to do that twice a day. I get to reach some fucking max effort discomfort and be able to sit there and breathe and say, we're all right. Mm-hmm. We're okay. We're not in danger. We're uncomfortable. There's a difference. And so I can sit there and manage it and stay calm and stay polite and do my thing. In the same way the cold becomes for 3 fucking minutes, I got the same battle. Both these things suck. Mm-hmm. And I'm choosing it every day because I want the discomfort, because I want to keep my nervous system fucking firing at the high end, able to manage stress.
Carving those grooves in the brain to be able to tolerate the discomfort. Yeah.
Otherwise, the discomfort that finds me in my life is the max that I deal with. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
I pick up fucking heavy things here throughout the day, which allows me to go to fucking Home Depot and grab a bag of something. Mm-hmm. I didn't train for the bag of something. It just got in the way. And so those two things have helped like mindset and focus as much as fucking anything I've ever done.
just push yourself and know that you can. You think you can't, but you actually can. You just got to make yourself do it.
There's a ton left in the tank, and you know it from one regard.
Yeah.
Right? Like you know how many times you've overridden that fucking voice? That voice is a liar. It shows up way early.
I remember one time I had the worst weight cut of my life. It's the first all-time world record I ever hit in 2006. Lake George, New York, WPO semifinals, and I've been cutting all night, and I was dry heaving. I was sick. It was bad. And so I'm like, okay, fine, let's see how much I weigh. I'm still 226, still 6 pounds over, and I'm spent. So I go out, and it's about 2 a.m. I just collapse in the snow, just lay there for a while, let my body temperature come way down, and I just had a talk with myself, like, you're ready to do something big, in 2 days. You just got to, whether you got to go to the hospital or not, don't quit. Got back up, went back to sweating. When that stopped, went to the YMCA, paid my freaking $25 or whatever ridiculous fee they wanted for me just to use the sauna.
Yeah.
And I would do my sauna sessions down to 224, 23, 22. And all the while, it fucking was terrible. I had naked old guys every time I'd get out of the sauna. I'm on the floor with ice on my neck and my balls, and there's naked fucking testicles everywhere just walking around me. And that's, when you're that weak, obviously it's not what I wanted to see, dude. I don't want people, when you cut.
No, you're not trying to get turned on while you're cutting weight. I get it.
No, but like even someone talking to me would piss me off. Like, don't fucking talk to me.
Yeah, of
it's
course.
terrible. And meanwhile, there's naked guys trying to talk to me. What are you doing? Why are you laying on the floor and stuff? That was a battle for me, as silly as it sounds. Yeah, of
course. So let's also say now, if you can go back into that and think about if you were thinking about how much it would be sharpening your axe as well.
Yeah.
To also choose to respond to everyone politely. Like, I'm cutting weight for a meet.
I was.
You know what I mean?
I found some way to be nice. And when I went back in the sauna, I got a little bit of a second wind, got the rest off, spit out the last pound, and went and weighed in.
Dude, I look at those days, right? Those fucking, the grinders.
Mm-hmm.
Those ones that really fucking ask you, do you want it?
Mm-hmm.
I think with manifesting like what you want in life and putting action toward it, like those are those days that the universe is really saying, like, do you really want it? Because we have to survive today if you do.
I think a lot of people, they assume that it's going to be easy. It is in whatever.
Dude.
They assume it's like, oh, I'm not going to go to nursing school because I got turned down. I'm not going to go. That's what people do, man. I got turned down, so my dream's over. Like when
let someone else get a vote. Fuck you.
When Dr. McGill told me that I was done, I went and saw him in 2013. Went and saw him. We did my assessment. He's the best back guy in the world. I'm up there. I'm losing hope. I'm not doing well. He goes, all right, I think I can help get you out of pain, but you're done. You got nothing left in your spine. Here's why. Further damage to this level in your sacrum that's split. You could be in a bad way in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Stop lifting. If you're my son, I'd urge you to retire. I said, but you said you can get me out of pain. When I get out of pain, I looked at my wife, looked at him, I said, I'm going to get back to lifting. He goes, you know my thoughts. Read my report when I send it later, but I'll leave you with this. Who knows? Maybe you're right. Maybe you do come back, and if you do, we'll write a book about it. And he honored that. He honored that.
Let's fucking go, man. That rules.
Yeah. And so I'd already made the decision that I was going to come back. The faith from this guy to say, okay, I can get you out of pain, because I knew I could train myself and build myself back up.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't figure out how to get past the pain in my leg and in my back and my deadlift going down 50 pounds and my squat feeling like my spine was going to explode. But once I got that little bit of help, I can get you out of pain. I'm like, well, shit, I'm not worried about anything else because I can build myself back up.
Right. I can do the work, man.
That was it. That's when, like, I said, oh, okay, so now I have this guy's help get me out of pain, and then we just rebuilt it back and had 7 more years of lifting where I did my best lifting, hit all my best totals, went up to 308, played around a little bit there for towards the end. I came off supplements for a while because we wanted to have kids. Had kids in 2020, retired from powerlifting, going out with the biggest squat ever done. And that wasn't really the plan. the plan initially was to hit close to a 29 or 29.50 total going into the meet. But a month out, I had COVID in July, and then I was down a little bit with COVID for a little bit. I was a little sick, bounced back, got back into training, and then a month later I tore my bicep off. So I'm a month out from the meet, and I'm like, I'm out. I got to get surgery. So anyway, long story short, I put off the surgery, talked to Dr. McGill, talked to a couple people. Don't tell them about my bicep being torn, but about like a squat program where I'm going to squat twice a week just to focus on my squat for this meet. I didn't say because I can't bench or deadlift because I
sure.
get my
Sure.
So I do this program that we put together where I'm doing a lot of belt squatting the secondary day with like 1,000 pounds on the belt squat.
Yeah.
1,000 pounds on the belt squat I put on there.
Now, are you doing it like a Hatfield or are you doing
yes.
it? Okay.
Hatfield. Yep. And I'm just overloading that mid range of it where you can't do like I couldn't put 800 pounds on my back and safely try to do 5 or 6 reps with it in knee wraps. It just wouldn't be smart.
Nope.
5 weeks out from training on my secondary squat day.
Right.
It just wouldn't be smart. But I needed to build that motor in the middle to be able to drive through. That was my sticking point. So put together a program. I saw that I could keep the bar on my back with the torn off bicep. Go have a fantastic next 3 squats. I implement the program. I do the drug protocol. I eat everything like to the T what I need to. I'm weighing perfect, like 303, my heaviest I'd ever been, but the leanest at that weight. Drove 10 hours with my baby girls and my wife up to Tennessee. Went up there, squatted 1130, 1215, 1285, 1306, quit, drove back, no back pain during this time, and then got back Sunday. Monday was pre-op. Tuesday I was under getting my bicep reattached. But I had to believe that I could hold that bar on my back with one arm.
Sure.
And so that's just where I went mentally. No matter what, nothing's going to stop me. This bar's not coming off my back. And if 1,300 pounds explodes me, so be it. This is the way I want to go out.
Fucking right, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any of your experience, growth help anything?
I never really got along with growth very well.
Okay. I took it for a bit, like between surgeries, fucking doing anything I could, right?
What did you think?
I don't continue to fucking take it. I know that if I thought it did something, I'd still be fucking on it.
I would too.
But it's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you any fucking benefit that I have from taking it or not taking it.
Well, I think that I took a lot of Chinese growth back in the mid 2000s, 2005, 6, 7, like a lot. Like I did experimental doses when I was gifted some.
Sure, yeah, fucking why not, right?
Yeah, I did like a kid a week.
Totally understand, man.
Yeah.
I run my life the same goddamn way. I want to know what's up.
It was stupid. I don't think it did anything other than swell my hands up.
Cool, your hands went numb. This is the only fucking thing to know if your drugs were good.
And it made me feel stiff, but not in a good, like powerful way, but stiff in the wrong areas, like lateral quad, hip flexor. It's like it did something to my blood sugar. And I would get like weird like ups and downs, hypoglycemic. But as far as like I'd gain weight, but I thought it was fat and water because I got a little bit more hungry. But dude, some people swear by the growth. I've had growth straight from the pharmacy.
I'm with you, man. I did round of stem cells too, like with my knee, and nothing like the mesenchymal like intravenous stuff,
right.
But just I don't have enough to tell you, but like the only thing I can say is what was wrong with me was structural fucking mechanical damage. And I haven't seen growth do much to fix that, and neither do stem cells. If it's soft tissue, I think there's a lot we can do.
And that's why the stem cells aren't big for the back, because it's just not like a bicep or shoulder or
Now, what
hip.
about like peptides?
For the back?
Yeah, or period.
Period, yeah. Yeah, not for the back, kind of for the same reasons. I've seen people take IV, BPC 157, and special oral and all these different variations of BPC.
I mean, anything that you find to be really like, for sure, I'm fucking taking that forever. Because like, as far as performance enhancers goes, the first time I ever microdosed psilocybin, I'm like, oh, I'll take that for fucking ever. And I haven't had anything as far as gear goes.
How many micrograms is there?
I take a
grams?
0.15 gram.
0.15. Okay. And you get a little bit?
Not really.
Okay.
I do think I'm better. I don't know what to tell you that metric's based on.
That really is a microdose. Now, what would be a dose for you if you like wanted to have an experience? Or needed an experience, however you want to put that. 5 grams?
Lately, I would say 8 to 12.
Yeah, that's a bit. Yeah, so that's a very small dose relative.
Yeah. And I would probably do a big dose like maybe 2-3 times a year.
Okay. Get kind of wild and scary a little bit on the 12 grams?
It depends. You know, man, for a long time, it's been really interesting, right? Because I realized this while I was out on a motorcycle trip with Drew. And one of the nights I had quite a bit and like felt him really fucking get going. So I was like, cool, I'm going to go retreat into my hammock and get in a sleeping bag and see where this wants to go. Mm-hmm. I'm super fucking fascinated, and like, I haven't run into anything that's made me so uncomfortable that I don't want to do it. And so because I know there's no danger, let's go. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, I'm aware of whatever this feeling is because I ate a fucking drug. I chose this. Right. I'm here for it. And so I do realize that there's some part of me, right, that unless something terrible comes up that feels like it's wanting to gut me, I feel like the experience wasn't valuable. And that's a really weird thing to feel.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, I'm trying to let go of that and also be able to say, like, a good experience of just being happy for 4 hours is also just as valuable. And if that's what it's giving me, not feel the other way about it. Mm-hmm. Because also when people talk about psychedelics, right, like, it's those stories that get shared. It's these fucking brutal guttings and death of ego and all this type of stuff. And so there becomes this pre-existing notion of what you're going to experience going into it. And so trying to be more open-minded about just, let's go wherever it fucking wants to go, man. If it wants to be happy and giddy and fucking silly, let's do that. Mm-hmm. And if it wants to deal with some shit, let's go deal with some shit. But man, for me, that one, yeah, forever. I'll take it forever. I mean, I've experimented with it. Like, I mean, I think that, you know, standard microdose protocol is supposed to be like 4 days on, 1 day off. Mm-hmm. I've run it every day for the last 3 years.
Do you think it has do you think it has any neuroregenerative components?
I mean, as far from being a fucking doctor as I can possibly be, and speaking my own experience only.
Right.
But I seem to be able to establish new habits easier.
But go ask a doctor about mushrooms.
Yeah, of course, right. Same. We don't have the evidence of any of this, right? Like, for me, I seem to be able to establish new habits easier. Using it, being ADHD and whatever that is, I know that focus is going to be one of the things that I'm going to struggle with.
But you're creative because of it, right?
Correct. And so with the microdose, so I've got enough fucking discipline at this point in my life to avoid the things that I know are my distractions that'll keep me from making the progress I want. But I'm still giving some fucking energy to being disciplined to avoid the distraction, right? Mm-hmm. With the microdose, I just feel like they're gone. I'm just in more of a flow state. Like, I'm in it, I feel it, I'm stoked on it. It's better for me. And so, right the fuck on. You know, I'm better at having awareness of when I fall into old habits, especially like patterns of thinking. Mm-hmm. Of realizing, like, oh, we're getting frustrated again. Have we eaten? Yeah, fucking go do something, dick. You know, you fucking idiot. Or like, oh, you've not slept well for the next couple of days and you're a little shitty to the people around you. You think that's their fucking fault?
Yeah, how do you expect to feel?
Yeah, you're the one who's chose 14-hour days to work this week.
Yeah.
And nobody fucking asked you.
Yeah, but you're using that angry man voice that you told me.
Yeah, yeah.
Use. But you need that sometimes.
Well, it's the one that puts me back in check of the abundance, right? That like all my fucking stress is because I'm trying to make progress in my life. It isn't stress because things are fucking failing. You know, and I don't operate from a place of, I'll be happy when I get this.
That's dangerous.
This is where I want to fucking be.
Yeah, it's dangerous to be saying I'll be happy when.
You know, it's living in lack. That gap's fucking miserable for people. And man, run into it lifting.
Yeah.
Well, fuck, 1300 didn't answer that thing that I had inside of me. Maybe 1305 will. It won't.
Sean Frankel was like, Sean Frankel, and look, the guy knows this stuff. He's like, man, you should really train and like push for 1400, man. I'm like, Sean, shut up. Like, yeah, thank you for, but he believes that. Like, if he went and squatted 1,300 and it moved well, he'd be like, okay, I'm going to do 40. So he's
right
like,
on, dude.
yeah.
Look, right on. I want there to be full lunatics. I'm not trying to change Sean unless Sean's unhappy.
Right. He's not unhappy. That's how he has
fucking
to live.
A, man.
Right.
Run like a maniac. I like lunatics. I like unapologetic people that choose to fucking live their life like a fucking maniac as long as they accept the consequences that come with it. Can't have both.
That's very true.
You don't get to get in the way of someone else's fucking pursuit of living like a maniac either.
Yeah.
No one's fucking obligated to help you.
Yeah.
But go the fuck for it. I love unreasonable fucking people. That's all I want to ever fucking be around.
How wild was your life when you were at the peak of your athletic career? And when I say wild, I don't know. I don't even know what I mean. But
it was fun. So like we're traveling a lot.
Okay.
The Highland Games has a good crowd. Like there's always a crowd because we're part of like a festival. So we're like entertainment for a thing. And so some of these would have fucking 50, 60, 70,000 people at them. Oh yeah. Super fucking fun.
I don't think 50, 60, 70,000 people have ever seen me lift in person, but not even close.
Yeah. And so like these events are
One
fucking
event.
rad,
Yeah.
man. Like I competed on the lawn of
Including
like
YouTube.
World Championships in 2015. We're on the lawn of this like 11th century castle. And like it was kind of down into the castle. So the crowd had built up all the way around us.
Right.
Like elevated around us throwing. It was fucking awesome.
You're in a coliseum.
Yeah. It's a fucking great day.
Wow. Were you a celebrity?
Fuck no. Fuck no. Because like everyone's there for the show.
Right.
They don't know who the fuck we are.
Gotcha.
The difference between the pro and the amateurs at that level, right, is we're competing.
Right.
We all take it really serious. Watching us do it looks like we all know what the fuck we're doing.
Right.
The amateurs don't always look like they know what they're doing.
I've watched some.
Yeah, they're fucking new, man. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
You're a kook. That's part of the game. You got to do that first. We all have to.
It's like
I did it in 8th grade.
There's
I did it then. I beat you to it.
There's a kid that started training with us 3 years ago. He was there for my last run, towards the big squat, and I knew that he was serious when he drove from Wisconsin and said, "Hey, can I come train with you on Saturday?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And so I messaged him back the next day to kind of test him out. I say, "Hey, man, you driving in today? What time are you getting in? We're deadlifting tonight." "Oh, you're going to be there? All right, good." He proved himself to me just with that one thing. Was he home with me, and am I going to, do I trust him with the keys to the castle? No, but that was a start. It showed he had initiative and drive. He was there. He deadlifted well. He took the razzing we gave him, and then it made me want to treat him better, and it also made me respect him. And you got to respect the people you train with. You won't always like them.
Look, I want to surround myself with people that are as into this as I am.
Yeah.
Right. And a guy like that is as into it as I am.
And he's
because, I mean, man, I spent a bunch of years. I would have sales meetings like in Lima and Toledo and fucking Indianapolis. And I would stay in London to train with Windler. And I would drive 3 hours to go fucking have lunch and drive back.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I came to the fucking area for wasn't the sales calls. It was because I got to spend a week training at Elite with Jim.
Right.
And like, yeah, people that get that same fucking thing that I had then, like, I don't know why that fucking weirdo 27-year-old is that into going to hang out with Windler, but I'm fucking stoked he did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This kid was 19 also. That's what really surprised me.
Yeah, man.
19. And yeah, so he ended up being he still trains with me to this day. He plays D1 lacrosse. He's a face-off. That's his position. So he's got a cool position. But my point is, he did some kooky shit one day. He's like, he's still a strong guy. I mean, he came over and was already deadlifting 600 pounds. It's not like he's some like kid that can't lift. Like,
sure.
It's a good start for,
Yeah.
And so he's like setting up to deadlift, and his dumbass is chalking his legs. He's chalking his legs, and I said, "Hey, stop!" time out. I said, what are you doing? He goes,
Wrong way.
He goes, I'm choking my legs. And I said,
no,
all right,
you
all
just
right,
don't
stop.
know.
You chalk your hands, you baby powder your legs. And so
And can't cross-contaminate it.
right. Never do that. But anyway, so if he wouldn't have bought that Goodwill with me, he would have crucified me for that, dude.
For sure, man.
We still razz him.
Yeah, of course. That's part of that.
Chalk the legs.
And I think that part of it's important too. Like having that brotherhood that you get to talk some shit to each other because you're still in safety.
Yep.
Right? Like that's why you're allowed to do it, because the love's already there.
Right. You got a rapport with them. You know, you got some trust. You got to trust the people you train with, especially in equipped lifting, because if they're, you know, not paying attention, they're not checked in, and your knee goes, or let's say the bar starts coming off your back when you're squatting, or the bench shirt kicks back
Sure.
over your face. If they're not paying attention, you can get really messed up.
Dude, I'm hungry. Let's get out of here and get some food.
Sounds good.
All right, we're going to wrap things up. Thank you guys for listening. Brian, where can people find anything to work with you?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I do consults, people with back pain. I work with powerlifters, anywhere from lay people to people in UFC. So I coach and train people all over the world. You can find me at powerrackstrength.com. I've been doing some more stuff at YouTube too. Cool. Brian Carroll 1306.
Excellent.
Thanks for having me.